We're going to be taking a look at template specialization. What would happen if we were to create two classes and one of them was a variation of the other one? Now, we'd use the first class if our generic data type created using the keyword template were to be, say, an integer, and we'd use the second one if that generic data type were to be a character, which would be some letter. Now, how can we allow our program to switch between both and pick the appropriate one and then display the appropriate functions or constructors inside the one we end up selecting? And that's with template specialization. Now, we're going to be using a lot of the information we learned last video when we learned about class templates. The most important thing to note is that we need to design this all inside of the same file. Now, I'm going to elect to design this inside of the main. However, you can design this inside of the header, but you cannot, or at least I do not recommend, designing it inside of the header and CPP class files as we've normally done in this series. So the last two videos we've kind of stepped away from that. We will go back to that eventually, but not for this topic. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm working inside the main.cpp. I have all my information here already written. Now I'm going to go ahead and make our generic data type. So I'm going to write template. I'm going to write class in triangle braces, and then the name of the data type that I want to create. I'll be creating turtle data like last video to keep things consistent. Now we're going to go ahead and create our class. So I'm going to go ahead and create a class. I'm going to call this the lemon class like last video. Open and close our curly braces. Inside here, I'm going to be creating just the constructor. So I want to make the public tab right here because I want the constructor function to be public. And I'm going to go ahead and create that. We know we will not have a return data type, so I do not need to write anything before the function. And I'll be naming the function after the class. And I'm going to be passing through a parameter. I'm going to pass through the turtle data parameter x. I got to spell that correctly though. Turtle x will be passed through. And I'm going to go ahead and create the body of this constructor inside of the class like we did last video. We saw we're able to do this. And I'm going to go ahead and just write a simple statement. I'm going to go ahead and write one thing on the screen. I want to say the value, and I'm going to put whatever value we entered, so I'm going to put x, is not a character. Simple enough. So if I were to go ahead and input something, I want anything that's not a character to be displayed here. So that could be whatever is not a character could be used as turtle data. We cannot use character as turtle data, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. Because I'm going to go ahead and design another class, which will be for the character data. So anything that's not will be here as x, and it's going to pass through right here, and it's going to say the value, whatever value we decide to put inside of our main when we go ahead and make our objects. I'll be passing through something by putting brackets at the end of the object that I create, and we'll say it's not a character. Simple enough, right? The value, whatever, is not a character. Easy enough. Now let's go ahead and create another class. Now I'm going to go down here and I'm going to go ahead and write template. This is, oh, whoops, sorry. I need to go outside of the class. So yeah, make sure you do that. Make sure you go outside of the first class that you created. Make a bit of space here. So I'm going to go ahead and write template. Now rather than writing template class turtle, I'm just going to write template and I'm going to put open and close triangle braces to make this little diamond here. So just going to leave it like that. Now you're going to go ahead and you're going to go ahead and write the name of the class. You're going to write class. Once again, you're going to write class lemming. Simple enough. So we're going to pass through class lemming, and you're going to write the name of the data you plan to have through this class. So I plan to have character data through this version of the lemming class. Now remember, both of them are the lemming classes, but this one's only going to be accessible if we plan to use character data. So I can go ahead in here, I can go ahead inside here, and I can go ahead and do this exact same thing. So I'm going to create public, I'm going to create a lemming constructor once again, and I'm going to go ahead and create character data x. Which means now this one is using turtle data for the parameter x. I'm going to be using character data. And now I can go ahead and write cout the value x is a character. End line. So this means if we plan to have a character, we're going to use this second class over here. If we don't plan to have a character, we're going to use this first version of the class over here. So it's technically the same class. I know I said two classes at the beginning, but no, it's only one variation of another class. So we can kind of look at it as one class. However, one of them will be used for non-character data, and the other one will be used for character data. Now let's go ahead and inside of our main over here, we can go ahead and create an object. So I'm going to write lemming object 1, and now in brackets, because I want to pass something through the constructor, which in the constructor we have the turtle parameter x, or we have character x. I'll go ahead and pass through 5. Now, what am I missing here? We're already getting an error. We know that when we're working with class templates, the thing we saw last video, it doesn't know what type of data we're going to be working with when we create our generic data, because normally it knows based on the fact that we're going to be creating variables. So if I'm going to be passing through the integer variable a, it knows that turtle or your generic data is going to be a. We don't have that when working with class templates. We actually need to go ahead and indicate it right here between the name of the class and the name of the object that you created. So we're going to be working with integer data for this 5. If I go ahead and build and run this, we're going to see which one it's going to select. We're going to say the value 5 is not a character. So it actually went and used this code over here. Now what would happen if I were to go ahead and create lemming? I'm going to create another object in the same class. This one will be using character data, lemming object 2, and now I'm going to pass through B, which is a character, any letter. So I'm going to pass through this. Now, is it going to try to pass it through here, or is it going to actually go and it's going to be smart about it and it's going to go use this code down here? We'll go ahead and build and run this, and we're going to see the build succeeded. Everything is going crazy up here. And now down here is what really matters. We see the value 5 is not a character. The value B is a character. So we see how this template specialization worked. I'm not sure why everything is highlighted here, but we just see that it works, which is what matters. So this showed us how we can use this generic data to select between whether or not we're going to be working with integers or we're going to be working with something else, in this case, characters. So you can actually allow it to display different messages based on which type of data you plan to have, and you can have this for a bunch of different things if you want it. If you have any questions regarding template specialization or class templates, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I will respond to you as soon as possible. Hope you guys are enjoying this series, and I have more videos coming later on.